about the time you guys are starting to nail down that first unit just 2 weeks ago?
Absolutely. I think, you know, a little more urgency. Obviously, when we get tomorrow, our guys are off for the first day of class. When we get back from there, there'll be a good plan in place to kind of narrow down who that primary group is going to be. And I'm excited about the depth that we've got. I think we've got some tough decisions to make. I think they're guys who have worked, you know, really well in training camp, and there's a lot of role players to some degree, and then we've got good depth at certain positions. So we're looking forward to that.
It seems like you guys have had, at least what we've seen, the same 5 up front for a few days. Are you comfortable with that 5 right now, or are you guys still looking?
Well, we're still working through a couple different combinations. Obviously, you guys know Zach's been a little banged up, but you know, we've got some different combinations at center. And the positive there is I think we've got some, you know, wiggle room to some degree, some lineups that can work either way. You know, so I think we've developed some quality depth there. I think we need to develop a little bit more consistency to some degree when we have certain players at certain positions, but I'm comfortable with the group that we have there, and I've seen them execute well with both lineups or even a third lineup that we've been playing with.
You know, Napier obviously having a good fall camp. When specifically has he brought to the running backs group that's already deep in?
Well, I think he's got great instincts. I think he's a guy who was tremendously productive in high school. And he's got great vision. He's very, he makes great decisions. He makes quick decisions. He's very instinctive inside, and I think that was an area that you could see right out of the box. You know, the guy was outstanding in those areas. So, and then, you know, he's going through the same struggles that most of these rookies go through. Obviously, he didn't get to go through spring practice because of the injury, so summer was a transition time for him. But at some point or another, we're going to need Eno to be a productive player for us, and there's no question I think he can contribute to our team this year.
Throughout camp, which group has made the biggest adjustment or improvement from your perspective?
I think our receiver group, in my opinion, has really made strides, you know, relative to the group that we inherited. The detail that they're playing with, the ability to handle lots of install, a number of different concepts. I think that group has really made improvement. In particular, I think they're playing with a little bit more of identity in terms of the physical type of play. We're asking them to do a little bit more in the run game and also on the perimeter. So Coach Likens is a tremendous coach. I think he's done an outstanding job with that group. And that group not only has some talent, but they've got a great personality and a great work ethic about them. Well, I think John is a guy who has tremendous skill set, and he's learning that the receiver position is it's a skilled position. Sometimes I think we get confused that a guy that's big and tall and fast can just line up and go play receiver, and that's not the case. There's lots of information, lots of knowledge that guy has to acquire, and it's a very detailed skill set where you got to anticipate things. You got to be a student of the game. And he's grown, and I still think that there's lots of room for growth in his game.
Coach, how would you assess your quarterback situation at this point?
I think we've got good quality depth. I really believe we've got a number of guys that we could go play winning football with, and we're fortunate to have that problem. I think that they've grown tremendously in the summer, mainly in just acquisition and knowledge. I think they're a lot further along just in their comprehension of what we're trying to do, and then also a comfort level with how we identify defenses, what we call the players, what we call certain fronts, certain pressures, certain coverages. So I think that group has acquired a lot of knowledge. It's led to better play. And here as of late, probably the last 3, 4, 5 practices, they've really taken it to another level. And I will say this, like every player, every position, every coach in the building, there's still room for improvement, and we got to continue to work to make improvement and prepare for the opener.
Really tough about men playing smarter, sort of taking that 1,000 putting his body in this. Where are the other areas where you like to see improvement?
Well, I think Manny is a guy who has a tremendous story. You know, if you really dug in and researched his background, He's a young man who has grown, and he would be the first to tell you he's grown tremendously just as a person in terms of coming to grips with what life's really about, what type of responsibility comes with growing up, being in college as you mature and as you grow. I think he's seen his first off season after having significant playing time, so that brings a different level of preparation. So Manny's a guy who I think can continue to grow in that area. So, you know, we talked a lot about this morning. I know my teammates. We've really come together as a group. I'm comfortable with everybody in the room. I know their strengths. I know their weaknesses. I can tell when a guy's maybe having a bad day, and I know how to push that guy's buttons. I know how to motivate that guy, and they're all different, you know, and that's what makes football an outstanding game. Is it's a game about people and tremendous variables. I mean, through the roof, the amount of variables that you're, you know, juggling each day. And the quarterback has to see things from a coach's perspective, and I think that's the area where he's continuing to grow, and an area where he can continue to improve.
What's Kalen compared to some of the skilled players in terms of athletic ability that you've had?
I think he's an elite skill player. He's one of the best skill players in the entire country. I think he's another guy who is kind of coming to his own in terms of he's recognized the level of work that's required to be exceptional. Obviously, you know, I'd like that guy's workload to be, you know, really big. You know, I want to have a guy who shows up every week, prepares, plays a large number of snaps. You know, and we're going to ask a lot of that guy. So I think he anticipates that. We've had those talks, and I think his preparation, his off season's probably been the best he's had. He's in the best shape of his life. And he's another guy who, you know, just in his own personal battles, he's coming to grips with what it's about to be a man, take ownership, be accountable, be dependable. For the guy to get voted captain by his teammates, I think says a lot about his growth this offseason. Yeah, Kyle Williams is a starter in my opinion. You know, I mean, he may not be one of the first three to run out there, you know, at some point, but when you start looking at number of snaps that he's going to play, his value, what he brings to our team, Kyle's one of those guys who early in my time here I could see right away, man, what a great athlete. But then we started playing football and it's like, wow, he's really raw. But he's a guy who's a tremendous person, tremendous student, very self-disciplined, and a guy who's probably made as much growth as a football player than anybody we have on offense. So tremendous respect for Kyle and the way he goes about his business. Well, I think DeMario is a blue-collar guy. You know, that's what I've learned about DeMario is I know what I'm going to get every day from that guy. You know, I think he's one of the things that we've tried to deal with and answer, you know, goes back to the very beginning. Hey, clean slate. You know, go back, let's reevaluate every one of these guys in terms of the work that they do from this day forward. And he's really answered the bell. I mean, the guy, he brings it every day. He's been outstanding, and I think he's in position to get back to the production that he had 2 years ago. So very pleased with DeMario and his approach.
What kind of development do you want to see from Nikhil in year 2?
Well, I think Nikhil, like every player that I've ever been around or ever coached, you know, last year it was all new to him. You know, he was very green to some degree. You know, every time he ran out there, it was a new experience for him. So between, you know, that first year of significant playing time until the second year, I think they know what to anticipate. They know what the games are going to be like. They know how to prepare. And he has really, really stepped up his game. I think we're starting to see the attention to detail that's required at that position. Another guy who's got a tremendous ceiling, and I think we're going to see him grow throughout the season. So the key to the drill for all these young men that we're talking about is their self-discipline, their consistency in their approach when they show up each day from here on out. You know, we've got pretty good work. I'm happy with the way our guys have worked so far, but the key is going to be, can we sustain that, and can we have the mental energy that we need each day when we show up to the building?
Maybe aside from the personal growth, added or honed any skill sets this year that you're seeing?
Yeah, I think he's more comfortable as a passer, you know, in my opinion. Just in terms of, I think he's understands when to throw the ball. You know, a lot of what we do is rhythm passing game, ball's thrown on time. I think he's got a good comprehension of what's, a lot of playing quarterback is anticipating, you know, you're standing there and you can basically rule out these three things. Okay, now I can narrow it down to, okay, it's going to be one of these two. So our concept with what they're doing conceptually, okay, I can eliminate this. This makes my choice very simple, and now I'm playing faster. Everything's coming out on time. So as much as it is physical, it's mental. You know, playing quarterback, in my opinion and a lot of other people's opinion, is the hardest thing to do in all of sports, because there's so many variables conceptually, but also I'm managing so many different people, so many different personalities. So we've got work to do, and I think in that quarterback room in general, I think they know that. But we've got time, and I feel good about where we're at.
Jeff?
Yeah, Brady White was out there for a couple of snaps today. Just where do you see him right now? And how's he been able to kind of progress even while he's working on getting this work?
Yeah, Brady, I tell you, I've been very impressed with him as a young man, and then also as a student of the game. I think he's been very diligent. Even though his role has been limited, he did a great job kind of staying in tune with what we were doing this spring. But at the same time, as he's getting back physically, I can see that the guy is he's a quality passer. You know, he's a guy who's very accurate. He makes good decisions. I think he's got outstanding character, and he's one of the guys who kind of, even though his role may be minimal at this point, he's a guy who really sets the tone for us on offense, just in terms of how he goes about his business, and I've got a tremendous amount of respect for that. So another guy that I can see eventually could play winning football for you at quarterback. So very pleased with Brady.
Everybody good? Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys.